Dave Isbell, and this is Lisa Parker. We are your Alumni Career Services team at Michigan State University. And we decided that it might just be a good idea to let you in on some of our conversations. We have some good ideas sometimes that come up, sometimes not so good ideas. But so maybe you'll get some insight from this. Maybe it'll be a good thing. I don't know. Might just waste 10 minutes of your lunchtime. Either way, it's all good. So,
way to set the bar high there, Dave.
So we're here. Hopefully you'll get some good stuff. That obviously this is not scripted. But I do have a question for Lisa. In Lisa's past, she worked as a third-party recruiter. So I was really curious about hearing from her today about what that's like. So Lisa, how can somebody find a good third-party recruiter to work with? Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm a big fan of working with third-party recruiters, and some individuals would encounter them perhaps for direct hire placements or for project-type work in their field. I think a good way to identify a recruiter that you would want to align with is to really try to find an individual who's an expert in your particular field. That's not to discredit the generalists out there, but if you're a more experienced individual, oftentimes like the individuals who we're working with, and you're trying to maybe work towards what could potentially be a promotion or a higher income type role, you want somebody who knows their salt in the particular field and has the right connections to help you get acquainted with the right types of decision makers.
So what would be the best kind of approach? What do you think? What do you think as a past recruiter made you want to work with somebody, or kind of like, I'm not sure if I want to work with that person?
I think people who haven't been recruiters before don't really realize how busy a recruiter's day is. It is a high volume environment. You are talking to people constantly. When I'm on the phone with you, I may have 2 other people on hold waiting for me. It's a very fast-paced environment. They're typically working with dozens of people at one particular time and multiple companies at one particular time. So individuals who can come to the table with me and not require me to do a majority of the thinking, that's not dissing my ability to think, but my time to think is limited. So individuals sometimes treat recruiters like career services professionals, and they're not. They are distributors. They're distributors of talent, and they need to hear from you what it is you have to sell, what's marketable, who would want it, and then they're going to reach out to their network for you. You don't have to do the selling on the introductory side, but you've also got to be able to show them that once they make that connection and put you in front of their client, you're going to be able to help in the continuation of the sales process so that deal can be closed.
So what you just said to me sounds like the job seeker is kind of the product for the recruiter to sell.
Yes.
So I have a lot of people who come to me and as a career coach, and they misunderstand my role. They think that I'm going to go get them a job, and I've never gotten anyone a job. My role is to help people to figure out kind of what they want to do with their life, and to help them to package that product, if you will, so they could take it to someone like a recruiter or someone they're networking with or something like that. So it seems to me like if someone approaches you as a recruiter, when you were a recruiter, and they don't know what they want to do with their life, and they don't really know what their skills are, it's going to be really difficult for you to kind of take them and know what to do with them.
Yeah.
So what's the best way for them to partner with you instead of kind of expecting you to do all the work?
Well, as I mentioned, really being able to come at me with an idea of what you want to do, and realizing that if you're trying to use me as a career services professional, if you're trying to use a recruiter to give you ideas on something or how your resume should look, every hour that they spend with you in that mode takes away from the time. That's an hour that they're not spending on the phone reaching out to companies trying to drum up leads for you. You don't want that recruiter's time spent on how your resume should look. You want that recruiter's time spent seeing that effectively messaged resume and marketing it out to their clients. That's how you want it. And you also want that recruiter to remember you. And when we think about what makes people memorable to other people, it's powerful messaging, clear messaging, and it's also a sense of partnership, a sense of reciprocity. Job seekers never pay a recruiter. They shouldn't be paying a recruiter, actually. The people who pay the recruiter are the corporate client. And so if you're coming to me as a job seeker, we're both on the same side. We are both trying to get this company to close a deal on a specific position, and hopefully you're going to be the one who's it. So I need to feel that we have a sense of camaraderie, and I need to feel like even if I can't help you in that moment, that you're interested in helping me as much as you want me to be interested in helping you move the ball forward for me professionally. So you're helping me maybe with candidate referrals, you're helping me with ideas on other organizations to sell you to, you're telling me about organizations that presented you with positions that you didn't want, but maybe somebody else in their network might want. That makes you very memorable to me.
So it's kind of going back to the golden rule of networking. Don't look just for what's in it for you, but look for what's in it for the other, even when it's a recruiter.
And I'd like to talk for a minute, because recruiters work, of course, in direct placement, but they also work with contractual type assignments. And sometimes people really kind of wrinkle their nose up at that. And I think that using recruiters who are involved with temporary assignments to help identify placements for you that can help you develop in a short period of time skills that you're currently missing that would help you to be more marketable for the position that you really want, it's a smart idea. It's a win-win for everybody. Now, sometimes recruiters are going to call you and ask you to do things that you feel are below you or don't align exactly with what you want to do. Do you have to take those opportunities? No. But sometimes, if it's just going to be for a couple of weeks and you know that recruiter's trying to get something filled and he or she is pulling her hair out over it and can't go home that night until they get that position dealt with, you can slide in there and do that for them for a couple of weeks. I think they're going to remember that you did that for them the next time around, and I think they'll be have even more incentive to try as a return of a favor to get you lined up next time with something that's more your age.
It's a win-win because you're really also filling a gap of time where you're just, I mean, when employers ask you, what have you been doing since you lost your job or left your job or whatever, and you say, well, I've been looking for a job, and that doesn't really fly.
No, companies are interested in hiring job seekers. They're hiring people who can fulfill a purpose. And so if you've had a purpose in all this time, if you've had functions that you've been involved with, that's still something that you can sell. And I'd also say, there are oftentimes where people have taken on project work that they thought they wouldn't have any interest in. But the perspective that they gained in terms of the organization was amazing. And sometimes those organizations maybe brought them in to do a position that was here. Then they got a taste of them and ended up hiring them for something up here that neither the recruiter or the candidate or even the company was aware would be an option at that time.
So temp work can become like a test or even like an interview.
It's a real job. It's a real job. So long as somebody is paying you real money, I think you should safely assume that it's a real job.
Mm-hmm. I think that the objection that I hear for people taking things like that is, well, I don't want to get stuck in that way, or I don't want to be temping forever, or I won't have time to look for a job, or things like that. So what would you say to someone that kind of throws that out?
I think when you're going into contractual settings like that, in a temporary type role where maybe they're saying, we could use you for 3 weeks or maybe 3 months, there is an understanding that you're probably also continuing your job search. And I think just so long as you go into it being prepared to communicate with them as you would a more traditional employer on a potential exit, you're okay. I don't think you have to feel like you're stuck in anything. The reason why people end up stuck, and it happens whether they're in a contract job or whether or not they're in a full-time, I hate the word permanent, I don't think there's anything permanent, but full-time, long-term job, is once we get working in things, we tend to get distracted and we tend to shut our job search process down. Mm-hmm. That's not the fault of the temporary position. That's the fault of the individual. It's human nature, and that's probably a discussion for another day. Mm-hmm. How do we have individuals who are currently working still keep a job search going so they'll be ready the next time they need to look? So we just found another topic.
Yeah, right. I think always being prepared is part of the key to that. But I think As a career coach, I really believe I'm trying to help people to become their own recruiter. I think the best person that's going to have your back is yourself. And you can do all the work that a recruiter does usually.
Yeah.
So so for those people that choose to work with a recruiter, which can become a good thing. I mean, the downside of working with a recruiter is you're kind of locked into what that recruiter knows about and the contracts that they have. And you can't really subvert that process because it just doesn't work very well. So how can somebody, if they choose to not use a recruiter and they find a job they really want that's only going through a recruiter, how can they kind of advocate for themselves with that recruiter for something?
And that's a real tricky situation. Because a number of times I encountered individuals who lost a job or maybe they were underemployed or just working in a job that they didn't care for, and they spent 6 months on their own trying to find something. And then they came to me and they wanted my help. But at that point, they'd already contacted all of the companies I would have thought to connect them with. Recruiters are not able, third-party recruiters, are not able to go behind you that way. If you've already presented yourself to ABC Company, I can't also present you to ABC Company and make the claim that my fee is justified. ABC Company might just say, oh, thanks for reminding us about Dave, we're gonna hire him, but we actually found him on our own, so, sorry, Lisa. If you know you're not going to work with a recruiter, then that's just kind of, you gotta stick with it. If you find yourself in a situation where a recruiter is working on an opportunity and you know you've already submitted a resume to that company, you have to be honest with that recruiter about it. You need to be honest and say, I submitted my resume to this company out of interest 3 months ago. I understand they're working on a position that only you are involved with. If they're a retained recruiter, they may still be able to work with you. But if they're a contingent recruiter that has that job, they may have to work out an agreement with that company would allow them to represent that particular
I
candidate.
think you just gave a good question for people to ask. What kind of a recruiter are you?
Yeah.
How do you get paid as a recruiter?
Yeah.
What kinds of companies do you work with?
Yeah, how do you get paid kind of gets sticky because nobody really wants somebody asking that question. But I think it's fair to say to determine whether or not it's a retained search.
Yeah.
But I would say if you're open to the idea of using a recruiter, do it quickly because recruiters have an easier time selling you when you're fresh on the market or not quite on the market yet. It's easier to generate buzz around you and there's a sense of security that you haven't been everywhere they're going to try to take you already. And it also helps you, I think, frame an effective message because you'll know pretty quick if you're not selling yourself well to a recruiter. That's when I start hearing about, oh, recruiters are terrible, they never call you back. Well, that's not, we want recruiters to want to call you back, but when you think about the volume of the work that they're dealing with, they're going to call the people they have a clear idea of what to do with first. So if you're not getting a call back, you're either aligned with the wrong recruiter or you perhaps haven't given them enough ideas of where you could be sold.
How do you switch recruiters?
It's easy. Many people actually work with multiple recruiters, but that's where the conversation comes into play, where you're going to want that recruiter giving you some idea of the places that they're tossing your resume to, and you're going to want them to know when you're working with another recruiter. There are frequently times when recruiters are working on the same positions. So sometimes it's a matter of trying the one that you found that you feel the most comfortable with first and giving them a timeline and seeing how it works. And other times if you're looking for temporary work for cash flow, I'd say sign up with a couple of agencies because they get in different projects that are ready to go. But for that direct hire search, I would recommend starting that one at a time. See.
Is there anything else that you want to tell people that would help them navigate working with a recruiter?
I would just say, treat them like a networking contact. Realize that they sell all day long. They network all day long, so they know a lot of people. And even if it's not an individual who specifically recruits for what you want to do, like maybe they're a recruiter for accounting and finance and you're in IT, don't dismiss that person. Because that person is talking to CFOs and CEOs. And CIOs frequently, they may be willing to treat you as a networking contact even if they're not in a position to place you. So they're real people, they got valuable contacts, value their time, and come at them with a serious message of how you can be an asset to an organization.
Great. Good information, and hopefully you guys got something out of that. Thanks a lot for listening. Have a great day.